Joining us right now to break down the Trump-Biden debate is Mr. John Zogby, Senior Partner of John Zogby Strategies. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Good evening.
Thank you.
So this debate has set a lot of historical precedents, be it the people involved, the format, the rules, and all of that. The first thing that I want to ask you on is about the timing, as traditionally we see presidential debates happening after Labor Day, but this time around it's actually being done even before the conventions begin. Do you read anything into that particular decision?
Yeah, I do. I think that the Democrats really pushed for it because they wanted to lay to rest the notion that the president, Joe Biden, was too old and too feeble to be president. I think that certainly backfired, but that was an issue that has followed him and dogged him for a while. So last night was supposed to be an opportunity, and like I said, the Biden folks wanted the early debate. Trump, for his part, right before the debate, was actually leading by a few more points than he has in previous weeks, and certainly wanted to see if he could present himself to independent and more moderate voters, and even to the 25% of the voters that we now refer to as double haters, that they hate both of these guys, but maybe Trump could appeal to them with a more modulated voice. I don't think that worked either, frankly.
Right. So, I mean, it seems that Donald Trump did better, according at least to an opinion poll, because 69% of viewers said that he outperformed President Biden, let's say. So it seems that President Biden is in a desperate need of a spin doctor. Do you think that the Democrats will try to improve his image, or will they replace him with somebody else?
Honestly, I believe that he will be replaced. The conversations about replacing him became serious within 5 minutes of the debate, when he came out on the stage, answered the first question, and he just didn't look up to the debate, let alone up to the job. He squandered an opportunity. And so all throughout the debate, all through the night, Democratic donors, down ballot candidates like those Democrats running for Congress and the U.S. Senate, active Democrats and leaders in the Democratic National Committee began their serious conversations about how this process can work. It's going to be difficult, but how the process can work to persuade Joe Biden that he probably has to leave the race. I don't think any kind of spin, honestly, can make up for what happened last night.
Right. And taking a step back, looking at a geopolitical situation, well, I've heard some comments on this, and I want to bounce it around with you and see how you feel about this. A lot of people have been saying that, us in the West, a lot of people have been making ways to Trump-proof, so to speak, the next administration. However, the same could also be said about some of the regimes across the world, that of like Iran, Russia, North Korea, for example. Do you think that now that it's looking more likely that we might see Biden perhaps not being the next presidential candidate, they will start to position themselves differently than how we are seeing before?
Well, certainly what's very troubling is that it's clear that Russia, North Korea, Iran, and China have some sort of, not an alliance, at least just yet, but some sort of a conversation going on, and they're taking advantage, I wouldn't say necessarily of a U.S. weakness, but a U.S. preoccupation with other things. And, we just had the G7, and Mr. Biden just didn't look very well on the stage there. And then by the same token, there is real fear in Europe about a Donald Trump, and the support for NATO, support for frontline countries, against Russia, America first, extra tough on China, no progress whatsoever in the Middle East. I think that world leaders have to be very, very nervous after they watched the debate of these two gentlemen.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. But let me just point out that when Donald Trump left office in 2021, he had a record low support of only 29%. He's also the first ex-president convicted of a felony. So how does he manage to get all this support?
Well, it's about 42 to 45%, generally closer to 42%, of American voters who are with him. Who are they? These are people who see changes taking place around them and are scared. They see changes in technology that threaten jobs. They see changes in the demographics of the United States and they feel scared. They see rampant and then continuing inflation, and it impacts their pocketbook. They see what they perceive anyway as America's loss as the superpower in the world, and it keeps them insecure. There's a number of things going on that create anxiety, and Donald Trump has been able to ride that wave of voters who are afraid of all the changes, and they're deep. All the changes that are taking place all at the same time and in real time.
All right, like I mentioned, there's a lot of anxiety when it comes to the direction of the country and the world going forward. Do you think that this debate in and of itself can prove any sort of, or change any sort of mind when it comes to the future of direction? Or do you think that Mr. Biden's performance might even stir up more of that emotion?
Oh, I think that it is clear that no one could possibly have been persuaded among undecided voters, among leaning voters. What was there in yesterday's debate that generated a confidence in a candidate? Yes, Mr. Trump's base is solid behind him. I think in Mr. Biden's case, you had some of his own base, some of whom are really not enthusiastic about him at all, but scratching their heads about that performance. And among undecideds, I haven't heard any voter undecided. And look, I haven't done a detailed poll yet, but I can't believe that there's an undecided voter who walked away saying, "Oh, I've made up my mind. Now I know who I'm going to vote for." I don't believe that person exists.
Right, but there's a third candidate who was excluded from the debate, Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
And he enjoys about 10% support. So do you think that, he matters at all, or perhaps his support base matters? Could any of the two candidates, either Biden or Trump, tap into that electorate of Mr. Kennedy?
Not after last night. In fact, I think quite the opposite may take place, that instead of, or in addition to Democrats, Republicans, and independents staying home, that you're going to have some of those voters going to a third-party candidate, particularly younger voters, but I would also say even older voters who have a sense of duty that they have to vote, but just can't see themselves voting for the Democrat or Republican choice. I think Mr. Kennedy actually has an opportunity. Now, whether or not he can take advantage of that opportunity remains to be seen. He still has to get on the ballot in a sufficient number of states.
Right, so originally we see two debates being scheduled. One, of course, that just taken place, and one in a few months going forward. Do you think the second debate is going to take place, looking at what occurred yesterday?
Well, if Mr. Biden is still in the race, and I highly doubt that he will be, I can't see an agreement to have another debate. Frankly, I don't think Donald Trump would be very pleased in having another debate either. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I just don't see how Mr. Biden can continue his candidacy. And while it's very complicated to ask someone to step down at this stage of the game, I think if the Democrats have any hope, they're going to have to replace him with somebody who's more vigorous, younger, can project a kind of vision that's appealing to younger voters. And at the same time, run on Mr. Biden's impressive record. It's just that Biden can't sell that record.
Right. So what are some of the names of potential replacement for Joe Biden?
Well, a lot of talk, even today, about Gretchen Whitmer from the all-important state of Michigan. Democrats have to win Michigan. Michigan, you're also hearing some talk about Gavin Newsom, who's been out there, has been very public, and has really made no secret about the fact that while he endorses President Biden, he's waiting, in the wings. Amy Klobuchar, a senator from Minnesota, who comported herself well in 2020 in the Democratic debates. Cory Booker is another person. He's a former mayor of Newark, New Jersey, currently a United States senator. I mean, these are the kinds of names that you're seeing out there, each of whom has real strength. And I would say, in particular, Governor Whitmer in Michigan, in that all-important state.
All right, last but not least, before we let you go, if you have to put your money down, who's a better golfer?
I've seen videos of both these guys. They should have never brought up their golf games, believe me.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
John Zogby, thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.